Today, the SEC Crypto Task Force Roundtable will discuss tokenization at 1 p.m. Eastern Time with panelists from BlackRock, Fidelity, NASDAQ, and more. SEC Chair Paul Atkins will deliver a keynote speech on asset tokenization. Very, very excited to see what we're going to hear. Of course, when these types of meetings do take place, usually they're not publicly streamed. Obviously, I'm kind of basing it off of what we've seen in the past. Is that going to happen this time around as well? Is the news going to be publicized? We'll see what happens, but look at some of these big names. And you're speaking about these big names, I think they are coming for other digital assets. We're going to start hearing BlackRock and Fidelity filing for other ETFs. I'm very confident about that. It just kind of shows me, the early days of what we saw for Bitcoin and ETH. And I think we're going to see this happening for XRP and other digital assets as well, and maybe indexes launching as well. But welcome back to the Crypto ZX channel, to the XRP holders. Love each and every one of you guys. Thank you for all your support. Looking at the markets, going into Monday morning, we are starting to see, market pick up traction. But, Sunday was a little bit of a retracement for some coins due to, Bitcoin seeing a little bit of a minor pullback. Dominance, did see a little bit of a uptick, which caused some coins to, go down. But you are starting to see, things heating up once again, especially if you look at it over the last 1 hour. You are starting to see market picking up traction once again. The price of XRP at $2.40, up 0.5% in USD, down 0.3% in Bitcoin. Comparative price at $2.40. Valuation back above 140 billion, to be exact, 140.3 billion dollars, and the 24-hour trading volume at $4 billion. But before we get into any further, as always, just a quick disclaimer: anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in crypto. So, just a few years ago, you could have bought 5 XRP for just $1. Now that cost you $12, a 10x plus premium. In that not too distant future, we will 100x from current prices. And it's easier said than done, of course. I'm not going to say, it isn't, but the potential is definitely there, especially when an ETF comes in. Of course, 100x isn't something that's going to happen overnight. It's going to take a lot of time. But crazy price actions, a double-digit XRP, I think we are about to see in the very near future. A lot of people overlook that, but with the big money coming in, and once the ETF is approved, I think that will happen faster than you know it. And of course, as XRP is being implemented, within other infrastructures, XRP ledger, being used more and more, we need to understand, the focal component of the XRP ledger is XRP, the native token that is used for liquidity purposes. So that demand is always there. And of course, as ETF filing gets approved, you are going to see bigger names, bigger institutions coming on board, that actually want to hold these digital assets. And I'm sure, based off of what we're hearing, the real use case, the way it's just changing the way we do finance, it's going to obviously have a lot of eyes on this specific project. And remember, the regulatory clarity, that is going to help XRP a lot, in my opinion. So very, very great example by Chad. Do let me know your personal thoughts down below regarding this. But look at this, BlackRock IBIT bought 10,570 Bitcoin this week, while only 3,150 were mined on average. Going back to what I've said to you guys daily on the channel, we are seeing Bitcoin being accumulated at a record pace. It's outweighing, the ones that are being mined. The supply is definitely outweighing the demand. And of course, once halving happens, next one, you are going to see the reward, the hash reward, cut in half even more. So it's going to be harder to mine Bitcoin over time. And at the way, this demand is coming in, it's just buying Bitcoin as much as possible, because they understand where Bitcoin is going. They understand, that this is an asset class for the long term. The likes of BlackRock and, some of these big institutions, they're not buying it for the next 1 month or the next 6 months or 12 months. They're buying it for the long haul, and that is what a lot of people overlook. But these big institutions are definitely not overlooking that. But the biggest news of the day, of course, is US and China reach a major trade deal in Geneva after 2 days of high-level talks. Details to follow tomorrow. Donald Trump obviously made the statement. This is huge. I think if we do hear some sort of a resolution coming out, we do see a breakout towards a new all-time high for Bitcoin, and alts could start going crazy as well. Huge news in my opinion. A lot of people are overlooking it, but of course traditional markets are closed over the weekends. The pre-market numbers are already green, so we're going to see how the traditional equity market reacts. But so far so good. Really liking what I'm seeing here. And look what Zoom says. It's barely begun. The pump will be televised. Looking back, so many will feel stupid for leaving early. And I do agree with that, because dominance right now, in a grand scheme of things, even though it has pulled down quite sharply over the last 3 to 4 days, it's still really high. Obviously, if it gets to the numbers where we were at the beginning of the year, I think we go euphoric mode, like we saw at the beginning of the year and, of course, quarter 4 of last year. So that would be very amazing to see. But last but not least, the M2 money supply, we spoke about this yesterday, and Chad says year-over-year M2 global money supply has a positive correlation to Bitcoin, and crypto follows. Some people are projecting that Bitcoin could push up to $150,000. I'm not surprised if it would, but very great correlation chart that I even overlooked. But shout out to Raoul Pal that really brought it to the masses. It is very interesting chart here. But let's take a look at with the dominance here, so you guys can see this for yourself. Dominance did see a little bit of an uptick, but pulling down once again, giving altcoins even more of a push. If you're looking at BTC, I did mention this in my H bar and of course Pepe update. We are starting to see range happening for BTC. Obviously we tried to break out of the 105k a few times, but of course seen a rejection. But so far so good. In this upward trajectory, we are very close towards an all-time high. Only about a 4% move for BTC to push towards all-time highs, which again would be very exciting to see. So far so good as far as that is concerned. If you're looking at XRP, it made its way down to $2.33 as dominance did see that uptick a few hours back. But we are starting to see XRP picking up traction once again, and start to approach this $2 42% key resistance once again. I'm very optimistic. We do see the 23.6 retest happening this week, because that itself is only a move of about 6.84%. So I'm very optimistic we see that happening. That would mark it for the first time since March. We're approaching almost 2 months. Breaking out of here, would pretty much start the conversations towards all-time highs. So this is very exciting. Do let me know down below what you guys think. Thank you for all your support. We'll see you later in Crypto ZX, and peace out.